adaptation as a cross-sectoral issue due to increased activity of GPCC and the networkers, due to the new bill, the 0.5 bill, and due to increased profile of climate change in about every major institution. We did several briefings and info events on different themes within STC and outside. Land use rate, desertification, carbon storage, energy efficiency, renewables, indicators and monitoring in adaptation together with the World Bank, and the evaluation of mitigation programs in the World Bank. We did training and learning events and continue to do so on climate change and adaptation on the climate and DRR check. We have a share web which is quite well used. We have good download rates, we have good visitor rates. Of course it could be raised even more by maybe all of us promoting it. Although we have to say that the share web platform we use now, it's quite old-fashioned if we compare it to the Drupal, but it's user-friendly and it's understandable by everybody, and which is probably the advantage of this one. You don't have to make a big training for it. But anyway, we have the climate and DRR check. We'll talk about it later on in the afternoon. We have tests and applications and the growing interests of our bosses in the coordination offices and the divisions. It's still relatively weak, but it's increasing. And we had online dialogues. We somehow prioritized our interests in the network, what we want to talk about. That was last year. The priority was clearly on assessment of adaptation and vulnerabilities, and then came the land use issues. So energy really came very late in the list of priority, which is somehow a pity, but I think if we would ask the question now, it would be different. But according to this list, we really went to the climate and DRR check, which is basically an assessment of adaptation and vulnerability. This, though ours, is also an assessment with regard to mitigation options. We planned this event together in an online dialogue, and we had recently first exchange on the climate and DRR check and the first experiences we made in the different countries. There's a growing community of interested, I hope they're interested, partners and experts from outside of STC. The D group is growing, and I think it's more than doubled compared to 3 months ago. And we had a relatively strong participation of people outside from STC. So the same old problem, the partners are almost more active than the STC people in networks. And I have to honor that the DRR network participants were extremely active in this online dialogue, probably more than most of the climate change networkers. Thank you. This just as a result of an online dialogue, the program of this face-to-face event. Now about the challenges. These are my impressions. It's really my subjective view of where we are with the network. It's now going to be prioritized by you, where we have to head to, what are the main issues. Maybe there are issues that are completely lacking on this list. They'll be presented to you afterwards for discussion in order to have you prioritize the schedule and the agenda of the network. We have a problem with management support for the networks in STC. We're having managements hindering people to travel to face-to-face events, hindering people to invest time in network contributions, because they see operations as a priority, which is somehow understandable, but this is a problem, because I'm, as a networker, convinced that if we use more time for the exchange on quality in programs, we win time and we win resources, we don't lose them. And we really have to head for more transparency with regard to program info on successes and setbacks. So we have to develop our own vision of networks, of network mergers maybe also, but not let us push into it. Then we have to get the management support us with regard to more time resources for actual active networkers and for entities which are not already participating in networks, because they're also touched by our subjects, not only climate change but also other important topics within SDC. Okay. We need more info on programs and impacts, on the GPCC flagship programs, but also the new programs designed to implement the 0.5 bill, the existing programs, climate change and environment. So far we have just an access via the data management system links of the SDC, which are, by the way, not accessible for the partner organizations. We need better access to really good info on programs. And this is something we are trying to do now in the global cooperation with the help of Daniel Curnier, who is sitting here. But we should also get the individual entities to invest more time in this issue, in exchange on info. And because we're losing so much time heading for info when we need it for the politicians, when we need it for our own. Somebody said something about evaluations, and what then? Usually the evaluations are done and we decide to abolish a project instead of ameliorating, improving it or getting it better. Extension to partner organizations. We need more knowledge, we need more relevant knowledge, we need expertise. We are the strategic guys. We should be strategic, but without knowledge we can't be strategic. And therefore we need a balance between knowledge of the partner organizations and the strategic lead of SDC. And this won't be easy to achieve, but I think we now are at the stage where we need to have the courage to open up to partner organizations, to research, etc., and include them in our discussions and decisions. Okay. We have the 0.5 bill. Where we have like 10 results fixed in an official document that was supported by the Parliament. We have 10 activities or 10 results where we have to achieve certain things. We have indicators like for result 1, adaptation, the number of developed climate change adaptation policies. We have the number of people who have been made aware of future impacts and have become more environmentally resilient. There is also like a community-based adaptation. We have community forestry as a result. The number of local authorities involved in forest management, profiting thus also from RED schemes, which are at this moment mainly top-down designed. Then there's the number of countries which have adopted and implemented plans for sustainable forest management. Energy, the reduction in annual calculated CO2 emissions in tons, mainly with regard to technologies for energy generation. Then on the next slide, industrial processes, not only energy generation, but also industrial processes with the same issue, CO2 emissions. Then the number of clean tech enterprises as an indicator that was supported by Switzerland. This is probably more a SECO issue than the SDC issue. Then we have the number of people who have access to for the first time to a reliable energy network, hopefully generated by renewable resources. Then the number of towns and cities that have adopted sustainable energy plans, and adaptation and ERR, a number of pilot initiatives offering innovative insurance projects for risk management. So these are